Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're going to dig into this really incredible story. It's all about persistence, about divine logic, and, well, the wisdom of knowing when to stop pushing.
Okay, let's start with a number. Just 515. That's how many times Moses prayed for the exact same thing.
Think about that. He prayed 515 times, and God was just about to say yes. And then Moses stops. So the big question is, why? Why would he stop? What was he even asking for that was so important? Figuring this out actually tells us something huge about, well, us, about being human and how we connect with the divine. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, the first clue is actually hidden in the Hebrew word for his prayer, Va'etchanan. Now, you might see it translated as, and I prayed, or I begged, but that's not quite right. The root of the word is chen, which means grace or favor. So Va'etchanan doesn't mean begging. It's more like making yourself small.
So let's really break down that difference because it's super important. Begging is all about you, right? It's, I need this, give it to me. It feels demanding. But making yourself small, that completely flips the script. It's focused on the one you're asking. It's saying, look, you are so incredibly powerful, and what I'm asking for, it's nothing to you. It's just a tiny thing. But to me, it's my whole world. See the difference? It's this incredible act of humility.
Okay, so what was it? What was this one thing he asked for 515 times with this deep humility? I'll tell you this much. It was way more than just asking to cross the Jordan River. You know, the text is super specific here. He says, let me cross over and see that good mountain and the Lebanon. Now, that might sound like just some nice, poetic scenery, but nope, it's actually code. So what's the code mean? Well, the sages tell us the good mountain is the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. And Lebanon? That comes from the Hebrew word for white, lavan. It's a symbol for the pure, white, absolutely perfect temple that he wanted to build. So what was he asking for? He wanted to build the eternal temple, God's permanent home, right here on earth. I mean, that sounds like a pretty great request, right? So why on earth would God say no? The reason is, honestly, it's pretty mind-blowing. And to get it, we have to go back in time to what the Torah calls Moses' greatest achievement. And here's the crazy part. His greatest achievement wasn't parting the Red Sea or anything like that. No, it was shattering the tablets, the stone tablets written by the hand of God. Wait, what? How could destroying something so holy be his greatest act? It sounds like a total contradiction. Well, think about it like this. The tablets, since they were made by God, were perfect. They were eternal, indestructible. But then the people messed up, big time, with the golden calf. So now God has this impossible choice. He can destroy the people for breaking the law, or what? He can't destroy the law, it's indestructible. Moses saw this catastrophic logic playing out, and he realized there was only one way to break the stalemate. He shatters the tablets. He forces the issue. It's like he's saying, people are more important than holy objects. He chose humanity. Okay, now let's connect that back to his prayer. A temple built by Moses, the greatest prophet ever, would have that exact same quality as those first tablets. It would be perfect. It would be eternal. And here's the key. It would be indestructible. And you see the problem, right? It sets up the exact same dilemma. You have flawed human beings who are, inevitably going to sin again. And you have a perfect, indestructible temple. If the people mess up, God's anger has to go somewhere. But if it can't be poured out on the building, it has to be poured out on the people. So God said no to Moses to protect the people from Moses' own perfection. Wow. But you might be thinking, hold on, Moses is the guy who broke the tablets. He should get this, right? Well, he couldn't. Not completely. And the reason why points to a really deep limitation we all have as humans. And weirdly enough, the clue is hidden in a tiny difference between the two versions of the Ten Commandments. Okay, so in one version of the Ten Commandments, it says, remember the Sabbath. That's all about positive stuff you do. Celebrate, have a nice meal, light candles. But in the second version, it says, keep the Sabbath. And that's all about what you don't do. Don't work, don't build, don't carry. One is positive, the other is negative. Now, get this. The Talmud comes along with this absolutely mind-bending explanation. It says that God spoke both words, remember and keep, at the exact same time. Like in a single utterance. Because for God, they're not separate ideas. They're one, perfectly balanced truth. But we're human. A human mouth can't say two words at once. And more importantly, a human mind can't really hold two ideas as perfectly 100% equal. We just can't help it. We have to create priorities. We're forced to choose what comes first. Think about it. We can't really think family and work as being equally important at every single moment. Our brain turns it into family versus work. It forces a choice. We live in a world of this and then that. We don't live in God's world of this and that at the same time. And that right there was Moses' human limitation. He wanted two things that he saw as equally important: a perfect eternal temple and a safe eternal nation. He couldn't see what God was showing him, that these two things had become averses, a choice. They weren't an and anymore. It was a zero-sum game. So after 515 prayers, God flips the script. He basically says, okay, Moses, you win. Pray one more time, just one more, and I'll give it to you. You can have your perfect temple, but you have to accept the consequences. You have to accept what that means for the people. And in that moment, boom, everything clicks. The choice is suddenly crystal clear. The priority list just snaps into place in his mind. He finally, truly gets it. And forced to make that choice, what does he do? He chooses his people. He lets go of the one thing that was his entire life's ambition. And that's really the heart of the whole story. The 515 prayers, that was heroic persistence. That was a good thing. But stopping before that 516th prayer, that was wisdom. That was on another level entirely. It shows us that razor-thin edge between being persistent, which is amazing, and just being stubborn, which can be so destructive. The real wisdom is knowing when you've crossed that line, when the goal you're chasing has become more important than the reason you started chasing it. And that, of course, brings it all back to us, doesn't it? We all have things we're fighting for, an argument we just have to win, a project we need to see through, no matter what, a relationship we refuse to give up on. This story asks us to look at our own lives and find our 16th prayer, that one last push. And you have to ask yourself, is this final push going to get me what I want? Or is it going to destroy the very thing I've been trying to build? Because maybe, just maybe, the greatest act of strength isn't pushing one more time, but having the wisdom and the courage to finally stop.